Welcome to this week's edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. I'm Amy Johnson. This past week for the IceCaps found them back in St. John's, back on the Rock after a disappointing road trip, their last of the regular season, and they came back to St. John's looking to get things ignited once again. Needless to say, it was a tough weekend for the IceCaps and their fans. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms came into town, a team that the IceCaps hadn't faced since early in the season, back in October, and on Friday night, the IceCaps came to Mile 1 and took this game 4-1 over the IceCaps. Tim Bozen was the sole scorer for St. John's, and things looked pretty good to go in the first period, very evenly played, no scoring, but then the Phantoms opened up their scoring 4 goals altogether. Zach Fucali looked good in net, however, wasn't getting much support defensively, and no pucks were getting through the Phantoms' Martin Ouellet in the net. Then on Saturday night, fans and the IceCaps were hoping to see a rebound, but unfortunately, things couldn't have gone probably worse for the IceCaps on Saturday night. Ben Scrivens, who had been sent down from Montreal, dressed for his debut in goal for the St. John's IceCaps, and also notched a shutout on the night, giving up more than a few goals that looked just a little more soft than the coaches probably would have liked. There were obviously no goals scored in this game by any IceCaps figures. Some things of note: Josiah Didier took a very nasty shot to the head by Jay Rosehill up against the boards, but he did shake it off and kept on playing. Rosehill has since been suspended for 3 games, and on the Friday night game, Charles Udon was boarded by Aaron Palushai. Palushai has also been disciplined with a 1-game suspension. So taking a look at transactions for the last week, this last week also looked like a bit more of a revolving door than usual for the St. John's IceCaps. We have quite a list of transactions to review with you. As I mentioned, Ben Scrivens came down from Montreal. He had to be placed on waivers in order for him to come down. He cleared those waivers and has already debuted for the St. John's IceCaps. Brett Lernout was called up on emergency status when Nate Beaulieu went out for the rest of the season with a broken thumb. But unfortunately, Lernout sustained an injury in his NHL debut, and Ryan Johnston had to be called up on emergency status to replace him. John Scott was also recalled by the Montreal Canadiens earlier this week. That also means some folks are coming back to the IceCaps. Michael McCarron and Jacob Delarose were both sent back down to St. John's this week. Jeremiah Addison was signed to an ATO. He's a left winger. He was signed to an ATO, as well as left winger Daniel Audette was reassigned to the IceCaps from the Q from Sherbrooke. Travis Brown came up from Brampton, as did Dalton Thrower, and Shane Baker and Andrew Yogan were both released from their PTOs. So the IceCaps continue their homestand this coming weekend. They play on Saturday and Sunday this week as the Utica Comets come into town. Saturday night, that game starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Newfoundland time. And on Sunday, it's an afternoon game, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Newfoundland time. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at IceCaps Report to stay up to date on all of the latest and follow live game action. And be sure to log on to IceCapsHockeyReport.com to stay up to date with all of the news, all of the game recaps and analysis, and up-to-date information about your favorite AHL team, the St. John's IceCaps. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right back here next week for another edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. I'm Amy Johnson.